So, Bob, let's just do a quick episode. There are some emails I want to get into. What do you say?
Yep.
Anonymous super long-term middle tier patron from Oregon. She says, "Hi, Dr. Kirk and Bob. I've recently started a relationship with one of my best friends of 6 years, and it's been going extremely well. Recently started a relationship, so romantic relationship, I assume, with one of my best friends of 6 years, and it's going really well. All the loving feelings are there. We both care deeply about one another and know each other super well." Just chiming in. Yeah, it's kind of nice, right?
It
Best
is.
friends, and then boo. The only thing is, at 31, he's only had one relationship that lasted a little over a year in the past. Chiming in, meaning that he doesn't have a lot of experience in long-term intimate relationships.
Chiming in, neither did I.
I think this has contributed to some emotional selfishness, which triggers me into a mode of becoming argumentative and emotionally detached. Is there a way to speed up the process of getting to a place of understanding how to be in a relationship? Considering what someone is saying and why they're saying it more deeply than you would have before, recognizing when a partner needs emotional support and how to deliver it. Oh, I see. So she's saying, is there any way to get him to learn the lessons that one learns in long-term relationships, like considering other people's feelings, that kind of thing? Is it something that can be sped up? Is there a way to cope with the waiting and the learning period that I just haven't considered yet? Thanks so much for everything you two do. Sending so much love and support from Oregon. Bob, what do you think?
That's nice. I had a couple thoughts. One is being in a relationship is sort of like having bad breath. It's hard to smell your own. But when you sent me this email earlier so I could just be prepped, and part of me was like, this feels a little judgy, like of the partner who is, quote unquote, not as far along. Because it's sort of like, well, who's to decide? That's not really what I was thinking. What I was thinking is you find yourself feeling annoyed or disappointed with your partner because of, who or where they are. Maybe where they are, but maybe who they are. I don't know. I get that. And another thought I had was, what would happen if you just told them all this stuff? Like that, you feel lonely, if that's what it is, or you wish to have more of their attention on the tender, vulnerable parts of your life so that, they were, you want their care. In fact, maybe you want that to be part of the purpose of the relationship, that it is a resource for care and support for one another, which I think is actually perfectly reasonable. But your partner may have, and this one's interesting to me these days, really interesting to me. Your partner may have a different idea of what is the purpose and vision for the relationship, and most people don't actually talk about it with one another. They don't say, well, here's why we're a couple, or here's why, being in this relationship is better being in a different one, or as my teacher says, why would I be in this relationship if I could pay somebody to do the thing that I want them to do? Like, for instance, if I needed a confidant, I could hire a therapist. So why is being in this relationship better than, say, doing something like that? Which I know sounds very transactional, but I still think it's a reasonable thing to just think about. I don't really like saying that it sounded kind of judgmental, but it kind of did, and I don't know. I maybe you should cut the guy a break.
Yeah, I don't know, but I agree that the email... So there's two things. One is that the emailer might actually be accurate in concluding that given that she's had more experience in long-term relationships,
sure,
that she has more skills and self-awareness and communication ability or something. That is absolutely possible. But it's also possible that that's an assumption that isn't necessarily true. And what Bob was getting at is like, you're disappointed. I might also say you might feel hurt at times. And you're concluding that it's because he or they are, below you essentially, that they don't know as much as you do. But being hurt and disappointed in a relationship is being in a relationship. So it's not automatic that...
I don't know what you're talking about.
So it's not automatic that it has to do with skill difference.
Yeah.
It could just be because you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
But if it is some kind of skill deficit or maturity, because, if someone were, say, 15 and they were to engage in a long-term relationship with another 15-year-old, we would expect that they wouldn't have the maturity and the skills and the self-awareness and the experience to navigate it as well as if they were 35 and had been through. So it's fine. And if you've never been in a relationship, you can be in your 30s, and although you will have had a lot of opportunities to learn skills that will enhance your ability to be in a relationship, it's not exactly the same thing. So, there's that. But the answer to your question is that the way to speed it up is exactly the same way you would deal with it even if there wasn't a deficit with skills, which is all the things that I talk about with regards to attachment awareness, and you can't force another person to be aware or to do the work, but you can model, and if you do it right, it can become very attractive to the other person such that they'll start doing it too. So when this person hurts your feelings because they're, you're saying they're emotionally selfish, you're saying they're inexperienced. I would, whenever you have that phrase in your head, I would immediately scale back and say, okay, well, wait, that's my assessment. What's motivating me to even begin that assessment? Well, my feelings are hurt. So, and the same is true with parenting, honestly, especially a teenager. That how do you accelerate that a teenager have more compassion and empathy for other people? Well, you don't say to them, well, you're a child and you're selfish. What you say is you try to guide and you lead by example. So that's my answer to that question. Yep. Okay. Next email from listener Andy from Maine. He says, I'm about to be married, but my high school sweetheart keeps reappearing in my dreams over and over again. I'm about to be married, but a different person, my high school sweetheart, keeps reappearing in my dreams over and over again. These dreams always gave me great warmth and security, and for this I experience guilt because I'm not dreaming about my fiance. It brings me shame to have a former lover appear in my dreams again and again, giving that I'm about to be married to someone else. I was reading Jung, and he was discussing the anima and symbolism, and it gave me great relief to wonder if this was simply a matter of the deeper psyche that I have, which involves a feminine manifestation of goodness and guidance. So just chiming in, what he's saying is that there's this idea that it's not actually this former partner of mine, it's an aspect of myself that is the feminine manifestation of goodness and guidance, and that's what's showing up in my dreams for whatever reason. This makes it feel okay, and all that he has discussed, Jung, on this topic aligns with my feelings. Still, I can't reconcile this with the underlying sexual nature and warmth felt within the dreams. I still have my doubts and shame as the dreams persist. I maintain perfect fidelity in my relationship, by the way, and wonder if I can return to a perfect fidelity in the mind. I wonder if this is symbolism or some kind of omen regarding my internal desires. Bob, what do you think?
There is no such thing as fidelity in the mind. Right. Your brain
especially of the dreams.
Yeah. Your mind
you could argue if you're actively fantasizing,
yes.
you're and even then there's some wiggle room usually.
You might want to just consider it as information about what's happening,
Right. But if you're dreaming,
yeah,
there's no fidelity.
Right.
No one should feel shame, or no one should attack their partner if they're just dreaming involuntarily about another person or having sex with someone else or something.
Yeah. But there seems to be so much energy around the secret, which makes me wonder, look, dreams are not meant to be taken literally. But you could ask yourself, well, geez, do I miss sex with my high school sweetie? Maybe I do. Maybe, I don't know. We don't know. You didn't say anything about that one way or the other. Yeah. But if that turns out to be true, great. That's important information. I don't know that it means that you just break up and, go find your sweetie or whatever, but just seems, like be a good thing to like learn about yourself. Oh God, my brain farted. Damn it. It just did.
Meaning that you knew you had something to say and you just forgot it?
Oh yeah. What would happen? Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. What would happen if you told your fiance about your dreams? Like you just took them out of the closet. You keep having, who knows why you keep having these dreams. But I wonder if that would take some of the charge away from them, and would you miss them if they went? Because they actually they could just stop if you don't hold them as a secret, as if it means something about your fidelity. It doesn't mean anything about that. So, yeah.
I don't know if y'all can hear the neighbor dogs are barking up a storm. They're not my dogs. My dogs are being good dogs.
Do you have dreams about dogs?
I have dreams. I have waking fantasies about strangling my neighbors who don't bring their dogs in when they're barking, especially at 2 a.m.
Oh.
And then I get blamed for it. I actually had a neighbor down the hill that texted me and said, "Can you get your dogs to be quiet?" And I'm like, oh my God, 1, not my dogs. 2, I can't believe you would think that I, as a neighbor and a dog owner, would ever allow my dogs to bark uncontrolled outside. As soon as my dogs start barking outside, I immediately address it. I have ways of getting them to be, more mindful of that. But sometimes they can't help it because there's a coyote literally that they can see, or someone coming down the driveway or something, and there's no getting around it. So what I do is I just bring them inside, and they're happy to come inside because that gives them the ability to go up to the front door and stuff. And so, I am extremely mindful of that. But anyway, to have your dogs just barking uncontrollably, especially at 2 a.m, I just can't imagine what
manners
is going wrong in your life or in your mind that would make that even possibly okay to do. And the house is kind of far away, so at 2 a.m, it's pretty quiet if I have all the windows closed, right, in this house. I can't imagine what it would be like to live right next to them, and I can't imagine what it would be like to be them themselves. I mean, presumably they're trying to sleep at 2 a.m.
Wake them up, right?
Yeah, I just don't understand. Bring your fucking dogs in.
Yeah,
dogs don't need to be outside all the time.
Yeah.
So I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So that's that. But answering your question, listener Andy from Maine, yeah, this is something that's way more common than people realize, that there will be what I might call like a fixation on a particular individual from one's past, and it often can be a romantic partner. And fixation meaning not bad or good, just the mind has locked in on this thing. For myself, for example, I been fixated on this patch of woods that I grew up playing in as a child, but it wasn't like my main patch of woods that was nearby my house. It was kind of down the street, and it's associated with like not my immediate neighbor friends, but kind of like the broader neighbor. And it also would get into this older teenager zone. Maybe they're like drinking or smoking pot or riding motorcycles or shooting guns, or, it had a kind of familiarity, but also a danger to it. It was also a lot more sprawling. For people that don't, people that know the Sammamish Plateau, the Klahani development is a very, I don't know if they still call it that, but it's this really large, it's such a large development that it has its own schools. It's, its own grade schools and middle schools. It's huge.
Damn.
It's one, to me, it's one large development, but it might be several. But it was all built in the 80s and beyond. And in the 70s, it was all woods, and it was just this massive playground for kids and teenagers and stuff. And I'm guessing some adults, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, and so I have this repetitive fixation on that patch of woods that my psyche has latched onto, there's so many other venues of my life that I could dream about, right? And I do, but that one is a frequent. So does that mean I long to go back there? No. It just means that, no one knows what it means.
Yeah, it's all speculation.
Right. For me, the way that it feels when I think about my emotions and my life and my psyche and the bigger picture is that, even the way I described it to you has some interest. It is a rich, fertile playground to play around with in my mind when I need to go to that vibe. So if I'm in a social situation or a work situation that feels like a little bit beyond my comfort zone, maybe I have to mix it up, there's a little bit of danger or something, then my mind goes, okay, there. So when it comes to your high school sweetheart, from the sound of it, you don't have any desire to be with that person again. You don't long for that person. You don't actively, as an awake person, fantasize sexually or romantically about that person. You have maybe some good memories of that person, but that's a person in the past. But the symbolism is the thing in all likelihood.
Yeah.
At the very least, the way that you're laying it out, that's the most likely answer. Now, there is a possibility that you all absolutely do long for that person and that you don't want to be with the person you're with. 20 years from now, you could go through a divorce and look back and say that your dreams were trying to tell you something. You still wouldn't know the answer to that question, but but it sounds to me like you're pretty sure that that's not the case.
Yeah.
And at the very least, I'll say that if I were your partner and given all that I know, and you were to tell me about this after asking you a few questions, like, do you want to be with this person, or do you want to cheat on me, or I don't know, and if I was relatively reassured, that I would absolutely conclude that you're not actually dreaming about that person. You're dreaming about an idea, and that idea, we don't dream about ideas. We don't dream about we don't dream about fear. We dream about scenarios. We make up stories that can be filmed. You know what I mean? So if you are struggling with something like literally when your fiance gives you warmth and in your dream you want to relive that warm moment you had in the day, the symbolism in the landscape of your mind might literally dream about your ex as a way of recalling and reliving the warmth and love you experienced from your wife during the day, even though it's a different face in your dream and a different person, and it happens to be an ex of yours. That absolutely can happen, right? Like, to extend it, if I had a coworker that I felt threatened by, and I dreamt of, I don't know, Hitler or something, would I conclude that I'm literally worried about Hitler? No, I'm worried about my coworker, and I have a symbolic a representation, an object in my mind that in the, all the flow chart or the burbling up that manages to manifest itself in the conscious person in my dream landscape, it, for whatever reason, just latched onto Hitler. But that's not who I'm actually dreaming about. So from the sound of it, you're not actually dreaming about your ex, you're dreaming about an idea. And it could literally be your wife or your partner that you're dreaming about. So there's that. The other thing is that I'll say, and again, this is all speculative because we don't know, but I've given a lot of thought and I've done a lot of work with clients and myself, that we will have ruts in our brain. What fires together wires together, and it applies to dreams as well. That I quit smoking 25 years ago. 25 years ago in a month.
Wow.
And I haven't smoked since.
That's fantastic.
I still have smoking dreams.
Oh, of course.
But I don't long to smoke.
No.
That's not why I'm having the dream most of the time. The reason why I'm having the dream is because there are neurons in my brain that say, I smoke. I did it it's such a repetitive thing that I'll just be in my dream landscape, I don't know, like I don't have any pants on and I have to go on stage in high school. It's a common dream that I have. and I'll have a cigarette in my hand. Why do I have a cigarette in my hand? Well, you could say, oh, maybe it's because, well, maybe, but I think a strong possibility is that there's a part of my brain that just sees myself as smoking because I did it so many times, and the neurons are still, the pathway is still there. And so I think sometimes, because the way I react to the smoking in my dream is always like, oh shit, I thought I quit. That's always what I say to myself. I'm in the middle of smoking a cigarette and I'm like, oh fuck, I thought I quit. and I'm like, wait, what? And then I remember, oh no, Kirk, you haven't quit. You've relapsed so many times. What I'm remembering is my other dreams.
Yeah.
And when you're dreaming, you don't know the difference between dreaming and
No.
So when I wake up, I instantly go, oh, thank God. I didn't actually relapse. It was just a dream.
Yeah.
And I haven't relapsed at all in 25 years.
Right.
So you might be dreaming about her, not her, but this image of this person, because before you met your current person, when you needed warmth or something like that, it just manifested as this person, and you dreamt about that person so many times that person is no longer that person, but is an idea in your mind. And now when you're dreaming about that person, it just represents that idea. Yeah. And you can never get out of that because you're unconscious. What wires together fires together. And you might always dream about that person. Okay. Yeah. The other thing that I'll say about these kinds of dreams is that when you have an intense attachment with someone and you are with them all the time, they imprint literally on your neurons, the way they look, the way they smell, their vibe, everything about them. These aren't intellectual ideas. These aren't just kind of memories in our databanks. They become a part of our neurons. That's why when we lose people, whether breaking up or death,
right.
like it is really hard for our brain to comprehend that, really. It's why we hallucinate people after they die, is because we are used to seeing them, and our brain says they've got to be out there somewhere. Let's just invent them, kind of a thing. It's sort of like when we put people in isolation, people start to hallucinate other people because we're used to seeing other people, and we need those people. And so especially the first relationships that we have along these lines and the intensity can really lock in all the associations. And even though that person is done, I recently rewatched Vanilla Sky, and I love that movie. And there's this part in the end when Tom Cruise, spoiler alert, figures out that he is in a simulation and he's in cryostasis. And he realizes that he's being told that Penelope Cruz, that character that he fell in love with, he only interacted with for a very short amount of time many years ago. But in the simulation, he has been married to her, and so he's realizing 99% of his relationship with Penelope Cruz has been made up in his mind and has been a manifestation of what he wanted to happen. And so in this moment, as he's about to leap off the building and wake up into reality and forego the fantasy, he looks up into the sky and says, let the machine manifest what I want right now. And then Penelope Cruz just appears there on the top of the building. And then he goes to her, and and they have a little interaction, and he is absolutely in love and enamored with Penelope Cruz, but he knows that it's a simulacrum, right? It's an object in his mind. It's a fantasy that's part reality and part not. But he's still having a relationship with it, and it still has meaning and it still has power. Well, that's what our dreams are doing all the time. Even when we're dreaming about people in my life. If I dream about my wife, she's not in my fucking dreams. It's not her. It is a manifestation of the object, and I am the puppet master, and I am the inventor. I'm the storyteller. The story isn't happening at me. Now, does it say something about what we want? Yeah. So, listener Andy from Maine, what I would assume is that there are two general modes of interpretation that you go down yourself and no one can tell you otherwise. One, it's a wish manifestation. So when your high school sweetheart shows up and there's all this warmth and love, it's possible that you need more of that in your life, even though you have a lot of it with your current partner. The other possibility is that it's just a reliving of what you have experience in life, and memory is encoded in these ways seemingly. With dreams, it facilitates long-term memory. We don't know exactly how it works, especially its relation to dreams, but it seems very possible to me that as we are encoding these long-term memories, the brain is making all these associations, and it's sort of sorting things, not the way a computer does, but the way a gooey mass that evolved iteratively over time to approximate memory. We don't remember things, we approximate things. And so your brain is, quote unquote, filing these things away. And as it's doing it, you're experiencing kind of like the summary of it. And the summary will just grab at symbols to show you the story that it's putting into the memory banks. And the way that it shows up in the storyline of the movie, so to speak, or the scene of your dream, it will grab at your ex-girlfriend, but really what it's storing is your wife or your friend or the way you feel about yourself or a movie you watched or something like that. There's a lot more I could say. Let's take a break. All right, back from the break. Next email. Long-term patron IVR. She says, "Hi, I really enjoy your podcast, especially episodes including Bob.
Thank you.
It has been very helpful to me as I've been working on my psychology degree. I had a question regarding how to work on internalizing a feeling of self-worth. I have a mentor that I have had corrective experiences with enough to fully trust that she is a safe person to be around and is not going to leave me. This is something I've never experienced before, and it's wonderful. But now that the safety feelings are mostly resolved, meaning that through the corrective experiences she feels safe, I've become more aware that I have this feeling that is completely unfathomable that she or anyone would actually enjoy spending time with me or want to be around me. I've also noticed that I struggle to make friends past the acquaintance stage because I don't want to be a burden on them, and I don't want to burden them with my me-ness, my emotional needs and my true self. Mm-hmm. If I don't feel I'm providing some kind of service to the other person, especially emotionally, it gives me a lot of anxiety because being around me doesn't have any inherent value or appeal in my brain. I know these feelings are irrational and come from schemas and relational traumas, but I'm in therapy and I would like to know how to go about working on this belief more deeply. Bob, what do you think?
Gah, me too. Keep talking about it. Keep being plain about it. Maybe there's a possibility here of just pushing yourself and taking a risk that, it's up to somebody else to decide if they want to be friends with you. You're not trying to audition for a part. So there is inherent risk involved in reaching out to somebody or letting them into your life or letting them get to know you. And it's really none of our business if somebody else likes us. That's their business. They're the one that's in charge of that. So if so-and-so calls me up and says, hey, you want to hang out and shoot some pool, it's a reasonably safe assumption that they actually want to do that they're not doing that because they think that they're serving me. So just pay attention to the data, right? I guess. And I have the same struggle. So I don't know. What I do in my therapy is talk about it a lot, and not since this morning. And what I notice is that there's a tremendous amount of shame. There's a lot of belief that I could not possibly have any value, and there is flat out fucking denial. Like honest to God, like gravity makes rain fall down, and there's no possible way that I could have any real value or worth. So, and I've been at this for a long time, so I'm just going to keep at it and chip away. So I don't know. I don't even know if any of that's helpful to you.
Yeah.
I relate to what you're saying.
Right. So, Ivy, what I'll say is that you're way beyond the curve regarding recovery compared to other people. And it could take your whole life of intense therapy to get halfway down the road, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it, because it is. So the fact that you're running into it and you see it and yet it doesn't go away and it's frustrating isn't evidence you're not in the right therapy mode. It's not evidence you're weak or that you're something wrong with you. It's unfortunately par for the course. Therapy is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Or sorry, trauma is the gift that keeps on giving. So it sucks. And anyone that says otherwise is trying to sell you something that is worthless. So don't listen to them. All right, let's take another break. Go back, another email. What do you say?
Yep.
All right, back from the break. Email, annual patron L. She says, I stumbled across your channel and I've been listening to all I can listen to since then. I particularly love the series of episodes you were doing on pedophilia. It is humanizing, fair, and thoughtful without lecturing or offering easy solutions to an extremely challenging social issue. In your conversation with Mia, you talk about how your opinion is changing about the Australia study. It speaks so much to your maturity, and in a sea of overconfident opinions online, it was a breath of fresh air. Just chiming in. So I made an episode in which I was essentially trying to dispute this pretty broad, well-designed study in Australia that found that 10%-ish of men in Australia have pedophilic urges, with only a much smaller percentage actually acting on it, that sort of thing. And I thought that's ridiculous, and I was refuting it, but the more I thought about it, the more I absorbed other information, the more I looked at the method of the study, I completely changed my take on that and said that I had been wrong for a long time. Anyway, so I that's what she's talking about.
Right on.
I'm writing because if you happen to read this, I want to tell you about how you've impacted me personally. I listened to an episode you did with Bob. I've done a lot of healing in my life and some therapy. I'm not currently in therapy. Listening to the two of you talk made me realize that I'm ready to dive back into therapy. I suddenly saw how there is some work that I can do if I'm willing to really develop a therapeutic relationship and be vulnerable in a way that I haven't been capable of in the past, but now I feel I'm capable of doing so. The way you two speak about the therapeutic relationship of your own experiences in therapy made me realize that therapy has something else to offer me, something I'm ready for and really excited about, though I am nervous. It's also made me realize that seeking out a male therapist, when I've never even considered that before, could create an even greater opportunity for me to explore and grow. I'm really grateful to have stumbled across your podcast and YouTube channel. Thanks for what you do and how you do it. Thanks to you and Bob for making me realize that I have a place in my life for an older, thoughtful man to be a safe place. You're both wonderful, and the world is better because you're in it. Annual patron L. Well, that's very nice.
Thank you.
Bob, any thoughts?
No, that's lovely. And I'm glad you're giving it a shot because there is something to be learned. I've had male and female therapists, and, it's good for you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
What do you think about that idea of being inspired by the way that you talk to say, I've enjoyed therapy, but hearing you talk makes me think like, oh, wow, therapy can be really, really deep and really, really vulnerable and really, really healing on that level. And I hadn't thought about that, and I kind of want that. What do you think about that?
I think that's fantastic. And we were sort of talking about this earlier about how we go into, perhaps a lot of us go into a relationship with some ideas about how far we can actually go in and how much we can actually share of ourselves. And there is nothing you can't talk about in therapy. And so you get a chance to kind of push against whatever story you tell yourself about, what's the limits of being known. And it sounds like you're taking a risk in allowing yourself to be known by a man, which made me think, well, maybe I haven't had good experiences with men before, so there's a possibility of a meaningful and deep corrective experience by opening yourself up to a safe man. Yeah, so I think it's good.
So that's the end of that episode. You and I, this weekend, are going to the most expensive restaurant in all of the region.
Yeah, we
maybe
are.
like for several states over.
Could
even.
be. I don't know. I've never been there.
Yeah, we're going to. You haven't been to Kansas before?
No, never have.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I lost a bet
Yep.
regarding our cards. We play a bunch of games over the span of a year, and last year in 2024, I lost to you,
Yeah.
which usually, I think has always happened when we've done this year-long contest.
I couldn't say.
You couldn't say, but you're pretty sure it's true. And so usually we'll go to like one of your local faves, but we were talking and I was
That's
like,
right.
you could pick anywhere. And you're just like, okay, Canlis, which is the, expensive place in Seattle.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, even Canlis. And then I was like, wait, are you serious? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we're going on Saturday.
What time, do you know what time our reservation is? I think it's like 5. I wrote it down, but I think it's like 5.
5:15.
Yeah, okay, good.
And the thing I'll say about it is that they have a new chef, which I'm excited to check out.
Yeah.
I've gone twice, maybe 3 times, and I have experienced the original chef from, I don't know, like 10 or 15 years ago. I really liked the more recent chef. I kind of liked, but it didn't really have the Canlis experience. So I'm because it's a real anyway. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty special thing, and they have a dress code, and
Yeah, I know. I'm already thinking.
yeah, and they have several courses, and it's a beautiful view there overlooking Lake Union, and
Yeah.
there's trees, and it's great service, and it's I don't know. So I'm looking forward to it.
Are we going to play cards during the meal?
Why not?
I'm not opposed. I love playing cards.
Yeah, I mean they have a lounge, so we could before or after.
Okay.
That because to do it in the actual restaurant portion might be slightly disruptive.
Yeah, they probably,
But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like any other restaurant, right? If as long as you're quiet about it, I suppose.
yeah.
It would look weird, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
Might interfere with enjoying the meal, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
But definitely cards will be had at some point.
At some point.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
So-
I'm down this year. I think I'm down 8. I'm down 8.
Let me check.
And so, and it's September. So I wonder where I'll be taking you next year.
Yeah. You are currently down, I think you're down 15
Jesus.
on the year.
I think that's clearly you're cheating.
Yeah. Yeah. You're down 15, my friend.
I'm not crawling out of that hole. I'll try to, but I don't know.
Yeah. The first year you won by 11.
Uh-huh.
And the second year, last year, you won by 7.
Okay.
And
I feel like I'm
so
playing like
this
Kansas City.
this has been my year for the regression to the mean, I guess. But you're still up overall by 3
Well.
since we started this game 3 years ago.
Yeah. That's cold comfort.
And it makes me wonder if I win. I don't want to count my chips before they're done, but
Sure.
it does sort of entertain the mind in terms of where I would make you take me.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of interested.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
Well,
like
if you're going to cheat, you might as well make it worth your while, right?
maybe I haven't been to Maneki in a long time. They have the tatami rooms. That'd be kind of fun.
Ooh.
Yeah. There we could play cards because of the privacy, but I don't think they let just 2 people get a tatami room. But anyway. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because
You deserve it.